hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you guys could join us here on the Amazon Live platform. But we are simulcasting our broadcast today with Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and Instagram. A very special guest that's joining us today, Dr. Teresa A. Smith, aka Dr. Taz. We're going to talk to her about her newest book, Dr. Taz Speaks, and what it does for you, but also how she's been able to use her own platform of transformation to help her clients, but also to show other people what's possible. For those who are joining us on the Amazon platform, if you guys are new to us, make sure you guys do hit that follow button. We have a lot of great things coming up for you guys. I promise you don't want to miss it. So the follow button is either here in this corner or down below, depending on what device you're joining us on. For those joining us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, you will find the link to this broadcast to Amazon in the description. For those joining us on X, we'll put it in the comment section. And those on Instagram, we'll make sure that we do put it in our stories for you guys. I see you guys already coming in over there on IG. Hello to you, Debbie Hines. Good to be able to see you. Dr. Norma McLaughlin, hello to you as well. But Dr. Taz, welcome back to the broadcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Cyrus.
It's always a pleasure. You know, having you on is just like having a conversation with a friend. I feel like sometimes how Oprah said when she was talking with Yana Van Zandt on the Oprah Winfrey Show that she forgets that she's on television. I think sometimes with us, Taz, we get to talking and we forget other people can hear us.
Yes.
But being transparent, being open, being honest is a big part of the Dr. Taz brand. So why don't we start there? What has that been like for you through your own vulnerability, Dr. Taz, to show people the strength of their story?
Cyrus, if you had asked me that question when I was that little girl that I talk about in Stronger, how overcoming life's adversity can push you into your purpose, I would never have thought that the good that could come out of all the things that I've experienced in life. But, you know, for me, I look at it as a walking example of how things can happen to you, but it doesn't have to paralyze you, and that you can continue and have an enjoyable, fruitful life. It's just about understanding that you're going to be constantly transforming, and everybody will not understand that, and everybody can't go with you. And so you have to get to that place where you're okay with that. And I think sometimes that's the hardest part of it. It's not the actual transformation, but just emotionally understanding that people that you've been a part, that have been a part of your life for 20, 30, 40 years, they can no longer be a part of your life because they were a part of the person you used to be. And they don't always accept the person that you have become. And so for me, to be able to live that example, I'm glad now, as I've gotten older, that I was selected to be that person, because it's quite humbling. And my life is very interesting, to say the least.
Yeah. You bring up a few things there. I want to say, as you were mentioning Stronger, for those joining us on Amazon, we highlighted it for you guys in the carousel there. You all can get it there in the paperback or the Kindle edition. Again, as I mentioned for you all earlier, if you all are not on Amazon, you'll find the link to come over. And Dr. Taz, that's the thing about you. I mentioned, of course, this book, your newest book, Dr. Taz Speaks. That is the newest book that you have, but you also do have Stronger, which is how a lot of us were introduced to you, From Bravery to Victory. I'm going to highlight it for our audience. That one's just an ebook for now. That people can get there for $3.99. But the book that seemed to be a turning point for you, Taz, even though Stronger was the introduction, was Transformation. And so I find this interesting because I think, you know, one thing that you said, and you and I, we did a whole series. I invite our audience to go back and check that out on Instagram. In fact, I think I should probably start repinning those, Dr. Taz, because we did a whole series, and you start that book off by saying that change is challenging. Now, since we talk all the time about practicing what you preach, what has it been like for you to tackle the challenge of change?
Cyrus, it humbles you, to be quite honest, because every time something occurs in life, I realize just how challenging it is. No matter how much I think about it and I plan my way through it, when it's time to actually implement it, it humbles the most, if we're honest, it humbles the most egocentric person.
Yeah.
because you have to go through the paces, and everything that you plan out, that's typically not how it unfolds. So that means you meet obstacles, you meet setbacks, and you have to dig deep in order to keep moving forward. And I just have to constantly remind myself, and I chuckle, Cyrus, really. I'll be like, oh yeah, change is challenging. Because I thought it was going to be this way, and it's not that way. But what I've learned is you don't stop, you don't give up, because
Yeah.
quitting is not an option.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Midnight is Book Bar. Hello to you. She says hello to you, Dr. Todd. She's joining us on the Ivy side, so I don't think the comment shows up for you there. But I love that you said that, and that's why with these conversations, I never know where they're going to go. And I think this is a great thing for our audience to think about, because a lot of times we try to think about our lives the way that we think about school,
Yeah.
and we think that we graduate, from one level to the next,
Mm-hmm.
and keep going forward. In
Mm-hmm.
school, of course, no one's going to take us from the 11th grade and take us back to ninth.
No.
But life will definitely do that to us.
Yes.
In the cycle of the transformation, we'll get to a point where we think we've learned something, mastered something, and then it'll bring us back where we have to relearn. Talk to us about that. You mentioned the word humbling. I think that's a great word for that. But what keeps you from resisting it, Taz? Because that's, I think, what a lot of people, where they get stuck. They say, no, I can't go back and relearn that, or I just have to keep going forward, and they resist it and don't realize they really are hurting their own process. What has helped you to be able to humble yourself enough to know that regardless of how many books you've written, how many people you've coached, how many shows you've hosted, that you still have things to learn?
Cyrus, two things come to mind. One is that butterfly, and the butterfly is a larva, and then it goes into the cocoon, and then it breaks out of the cocoon, and it's the butterfly. But sometimes we are breaking out of the cocoon, and we're quote unquote the butterfly, but we're not ready for the experience that's there for us. And so it's like, if you can back up and stay in the cocoon just a little bit longer. And I'll say it this way, guys. Sometimes women are in premature labor, and it's not time for the baby to be born, and the doctors are able to stop the labor, because if the labor continued, the mother could be in danger as well as that baby. Well, for me, I have to always remind myself that just because I think I'm ready and things seem to be flowing the way I want them to, I got to slow down, because oftentimes it's right around the corner that you hit that wall. But if you're going full steam ahead, when you hit the wall, you can't rebound from it. And I don't want to be a Looney Tunes character. I want to be able to rebound and get up, dust myself off, and keep going. And so I have to remind myself of that all the time. Now, another thing that comes to mind, which is going to date me, but I was a real fan of The Incredible Hulk growing up. And Bill Bixby would say, Mr. McGee, don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. And I would say that as a child. Well, when I think about your question, I go back to The Metamorphosis, because I think I was so fascinated by that show, because Bill Bixby, David Banner's character, was constantly, as he met life's events, good man, just trying to live. Didn't want people to know that he was this big green monster. They would say monster, but he was this big green man. So he was always trying to do the right thing, going down the path. But life would happen. And then he tried not to get angry, because he knew what was going to happen. So in other words, when he got angry, the path that he was going down, guys, he had to detour to the left or to the right. And I'm always reminded of, if I get into it could be many different things, but if I get into it, it's going to take me off my path. And I say it could be many things, Cyrus, because sometimes people get into this belief that they are more important than what they are, or they become too prideful, which then hurts them from achieving their goals. And so when I talk about remaining humble, that is so important.
Yeah, well, as you were talking, I thought about something from Stronger. I'm going to read, but I want to say hello to Robert Ham, Conversations Under the Hood, also a new podcast that's coming. He says hello to you as well, Taz. I want to let me reset really quick, Taz, and say for those who are just tuning in, welcome. You're watching Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live, but we are simulcasting our broadcast on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and Instagram. We're joined again by Dr. Teresa A. Smith, aka Dr. Taz. She has her newest book here. We haven't gotten there yet. Dr. Taz Speaks. But we're talking right now about this journey to let her where she is, and what's helped her to be able to help other people. And Taz, as you were talking, I want to read something from Stronger. I'm going to highlight it for those on Amazon there. Because in chapter 6, which is seeing clearly, maintaining the right perspective, you talk about college. And you talk about in there about how you had to change your perspective. But I want to read what you wrote. And I love this because it ties into what you were just saying. You said, I can see clearly who I am and who I am not. The confidence to see clearly has led to tremendous empowerment and personal resolve. And then you said, when I woke up from the days, and this is on page 88 for those who have the print edition. When I woke up from the days of allowing friends and acquaintances to dictate who I would be, I began to contemplate not just what I saw, but how I viewed each situation. And I thought about that as you were just talking there, Taz, and that leads us to this, because it's so interesting. I hadn't planned on talking about this as we're going to get into Dr. Taz Speaks, but the conversation you were having about the larva, about the cocoon, about the butterfly, is exactly why people should not try to rush success.
Yes.
Because you can get this stuff and not be ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
You can get that job and not be ready for it. You can get that relationship that you're not ready for. And as you were talking, I thought about that. This is a great metaphor for why you should. I talked to Mr. Angelo Ellerby last week, and he made a comment. I don't think I've ever heard it like he said it. He says in his life, he never wanted to take the escalator. He always chose the stairs.
The stairs.
So talk to us about that as you kind of think about how we met you, Taz, with Stronger, and where you are with Dr. Taz Speaks, how it benefited you to go through those stages to where you are now.
Cyrus, I sometimes I listen to our conversations, but most times I don't. But I was listening to our last conversation a couple of hours ago, and I think every time I write a book, I make the statement, I'm living that. Mm-hmm. And so to answer your question, I think that one of my gifts is to write about what I'm living, to help others, but be willing to be vulnerable and say, I didn't think I was going to be living that, but I'm living it. Because now I almost think sometimes that God gives it to me and I put it out there, and then he gives me the circumstances that highlight what I've written. And I know that may sound kind of strange, but then he gives it to me. Yeah. And it's like, oh my God. But what that says to us, though, is because I like to talk about, and I've written and talked about him working behind the scene, the SCENE, which in essence, what's happening, he's giving me the book. He's given us the book. But then life happens, and then he wants us to take the book and use the book as a guide, a roadmap to how to deal with the life, which goes back to what you're talking about with Mr. Ellerby. If I'm going up, but via the escalator or the elevator, I don't have the time to incorporate the lessons that I'm learning by living through those circumstances, because I'm already there. So when the next circumstance happens, I'm not equipped for it. And then I'm like, well, what happened? Well, I am what happened. I didn't take the time to learn the lesson, incorporate the lessons that I'm learning. I chose to just do it the quick way. And life is not about the quick way.
Yeah. Love that. Don Marie Westmoreland, hello to you. Good to be able to see you over there on IG. And that is the big thing. And again, as you were talking, I thought about that because, we always talk about the importance of, being ready. And a lot of things, just like, you're not, if a toddler is not ready to graduate high school.
High school.
It's a process, and you can't rush the process. Our mutual friend, Darius Ewing, he says all the time, trust the process,
Yes.
right? And I think that's the big thing, which leads us ironically to how you're helping us to do that with your newest book. See what I did there? That's a great segue. To
Great segue.
Dr. Todd Speaks, Empower Your Journey 31-Day Meditation. Hello to you, Stacy. Good to be able to see you over on Facebook. So talk to us about the newest book. What led you to write Empower Your Journey 31-Day Meditation, Todd?
Cyrus, as I say all the time, and it's the truth, life is hard and change is challenging. And I believe, whether it's my professional career or this part of my working career, individuals want the best for themselves and for their families, but we don't know how to start that process. And having lived through Stronger and, Transformation, the Bounce Back, and of course, Transform with Todd's Healthy Recipes and From Bravery to Victory, I realized how hard it is to get up. Now, I'm going to be real Southern now. They say either, now as I butcher the saying, because I got to try to clean it up. You either use the bathroom or you get out the commode. I'm cleaning that up.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes we can't use the bathroom or we can't get out. We can't use the commode, the bathroom, and get out. So the question became for me is, how do you help people get started?
Mm-hmm.
Because starting is sometimes half the battle. And so I wanted to create a way, a month worth of activities that could help someone get started. And as you and I have talked, you can use these 31 activities in any order that you need to. You can take one activity and work on it a whole month, because with life, it's constantly happening and you have to constantly reflect. Businessmen, Oprah, Iana, businessmen, they don't get to where they are without reflecting. Yeah. So learning to reflect and then readjust your life plan is a part of celebrating yourself and achieving your goals. And so I wanted to provide a roadmap, if you would, that would help individuals do that regardless of their age, their sex, their gender, their race, because we all need something. And so that was the impetus for Dr. Todd Speaks, Empowering Your Journey, because the journey is going to happen. Now, it's up to us to make it a smoother road, or we can make it a rough road. And so my thing is, let's make it smoother, because life is going to happen regardless.
Exactly. Luana, hello to you. Good to be able to see you. Luana Bradford says hello to you as well, Taz. And Stacey says, yes, clean it up. Okay, so let's do it. Let's do a practice then, Taz. So I'm going to take your newest book, Dr. Taz, Empower Your Journey 31-Day Meditation. I'm going to turn to, since it is the 8th at the time we're having this conversation, and you're not going to believe what the message Luana says, love that. Pause, reflect, and celebrate life's plan. Great message. And everyone, we could not have planned this any better. So it is on the day we're having this conversation, the 8th day of the month. So I turn to day 8, and if you can see there what it is, it's prioritize yourself. And the mantra that Taz has there is, today I will not compromise. The affirmation she has is, I prioritize my well-being and respect my needs, all while letting go of guilt. So I want to stop there for a second, because this is just too appropriate, Taz. So talk to us about the structure. So when people turn to a day, there is like a mantra there. Mm-hmm. There's an affirmation. How did you decide how you wanted to set up each day?
Well, Cyrus, sometimes I just write in the oddest ways, but I did my days and I did my affirmations, but I'm my own guinea pig. I'm my own beta reader. And I was looking at it and I'm like, something's missing, because I can do the day and give you the title and I can give you the affirmation. But if you don't set your mind, set your intentions, you can read that and not get it. And so I was like, okay, what do I want? What do I want folks to focus on this particular day as it relates to this particular topic? And it was like, okay, I'm not going to compromise. And I went through the 31 days and I thought about what would make the sense. You call it that mantra. That would make sense for that particular topic. And prioritizing yourself, we always compromise. Well, I shouldn't say we. Some people compromise. Not everybody. Some people are good and they don't compromise. And so I'm like, okay, let's get it in your mind that today you're not going to compromise and you're going to be okay with not compromising, regardless of what other people think and how they make you feel. And so I'm like, it's about you today. And so that's how I chose those mantras, Cyrus, because it was my way of empowering the reader to know that they are in control of their destiny and they don't owe anyone any explanation.
Love that. And hello to you, Kate. Kate Thurman is joining us over on IG. She says hello as well. Writings of Kate, for those of you who are there on IG, that's Kate Thurman, the co-host of Graceful Gatherings with the Thurmans. And so I thought the question was interesting, or the activity you gave here, Taz, because I think this is a good one for us to talk about. Describe a time when you place others before yourself. You and I have had a lot of conversations about this topic. And then how did this affect your overall being? You know, I have, this is something for the good or bad, people can make their decision and I'm okay with that. I've become very, very selfish of my time, and Taz and I have discussed this. I've discussed this on the show before. I do not let people guilt me into doing things I don't want to do. I do not make decisions about other people that I don't want to make, because I feel like, this is me, I'm not saying you all should be this way. If you do something you don't really want to do just to please someone else, you're leaving yourself behind.
Yep.
And you're making yourself unhappy for the sake of someone else's happiness, who, by the way, may not even appreciate the sacrifice you've made for them. So if I do something for you, it's because I genuinely want to do it. If I don't want to do it, I will tell you I don't want to do it. And I tell people, my mom will tell you, I tell her no. I'm very selfish about my time and my well-being and my own relationship with my own peace. So, Taz, I want to ask you about that when it comes to this particular day, because I think people have, especially women, I think, more so than us guys, I think women have been made to feel guilty for putting themselves first, for not compromising. How have you been able to get over that yourself and not putting someone over you because you don't want them to feel bad about you?
It is a daily struggle, Cyrus. And to the audience, I am just as transparent as water. It is a daily struggle because we do get guilt tripped. I was saying to my mother yesterday that I said to someone, it's probably about 4 or 5 years ago, just because this person did XYZ for you, that doesn't mean that you got to stay with them. This person's married. Yep. You know, it doesn't mean that you have to stay with them. They did what they were supposed to do at that time. But if you're unhappy, why are you staying with them? And that speaks to how women in particular tend to put everyone's needs above their own. And I tell myself that's not acceptable. A friend of mine is Nigerian. He would say that's unnecessary. I'm gonna quote him. I have to tell myself that's unnecessary, because it's not. Because if I do that and lose myself, not only does that person lose, but I lose. And my well-being has to take center stage. No matter how it hurts me, it has to take center stage, because I've got one life to live. And if I don't make decisions that are in my best interest, I have no one to blame but myself. And so that's, again, a reason why I wrote this book, because, again, I'm living it. And with transformation, as you know, Cyrus, I'm always transforming. So I'm always going to be empowering myself, too. Like I tell my clients, it's not a one and done. This is life. It
Yeah.
doesn't work that way. You have to constantly work intentionally, mindfully, to be the best version of yourself as you go through your life's journey.
Yeah. And it definitely is a journey. And that leads us to the work that you do outside of writing, because you also are a coach. And I think it's a great way for us to wrap this conversation. It's been 25 minutes already, Todd. See,
Already?
but we did great. We did great. See how we're wrapping everything together. So, okay, you've written the books, you've given us this activity. Now the individuals reading it can do the work. Talk to us about what it's been like for you through your coaching that you do to help people to do that work, not do it for them, but to do that work for themselves.
It's been really good, Cyrus. I will tell you that people are at different places. Some people really struggle with changing their mode of operating. And I get that. You know, sometimes I think it's based upon our upbringing, our experiences, our age. It's so many things that feed into that. And one thing that I have to learn as a coach is I can only give you the tools to be successful or to make the change that you want to make. It's up to that individual to commit and then start doing the work. But for most people, even if they get a slow start, they speed up because they begin to, for lack of a better way of saying it, feel better. They feel better about themselves and they like that sensation. It's like, I didn't realize I felt so bad. And once they see that things can be different, then they're like a sponge. They want it. They want to do more of it. But I tell them, you still have to slow down because you have to go through the phases. Because if you don't, like with me with weight loss surgery, I've had weight loss surgery. I still go through the stages because weight loss surgery is not a cure-all. I have to eat properly. I have to exercise. I have to take my vitamins. I have to really intentionally make sure I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to do in order for my body to do what it needs to do. And it's the same thing with my clients. I coach them on the fact you can't rush the process, even though you're seeing light at the end of the tunnel. Because when you rush the process, like Mr. Ellaby said, I've taken the elevator or the escalator, and I can come tumbling down. And I don't want to be Humpty Dumpty, as I tell them, because sometimes you can't put yourself back together fast enough to deal with the next thing. And that can be very detrimental. But again, most of them, they're getting it. And once they see the progress that they are making, they're even more ecstatic and they want to move faster. But my job as the coach is to move them along at a pace that's going to keep them safe and make sure that they're successful with their end goals that we've set.
Love that. Love that. Such a great message. David Atkins, hello to you. Good to be able to see over there on IG. Again, everyone, Dr. Teresa A. Smith, a.k.a. Dr. Taz, has been our guest. We've been talking about her remarkable journey that started with the book Stronger. You guys can see it here. But her newest book is here, and that is Dr. Taz Speaks, Empower Your Journey, 31-Day Meditation. It's available here on Amazon. You can get the Kindle edition there for $4.99. I have it highlighted for you guys. Or you get the paperback for $11.99. All of her books are available here on Amazon. Dr. Taz, always a pleasure speaking with you. Stacy says, wow, love what she's saying. She definitely is a powerhouse. Stacy, if you're not following her already, make sure you hit her up. We'll make sure she's tagged over there on Facebook. Taz, let them know how to stay connected with you.
Well, the best way to stay connected with me is through my website, askdrtaz.com, askdrtas.com. And just as a reminder, anyone who purchases my book, you can reach out to me through my website. I am giving you, I think it's a 15-minute consult. So take advantage of that. Because again, you got one life to live. And if you don't start putting yourself first, nobody else is. And you can't expect them to, because they're trying to live their life and they're going to live their life. So live your life just the way you should.
Exactly. Love that. Congratulations to you, Taz, and looking forward to our next chat together.
Thank you so much, Cyrus, for having me.
Glad to do it. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon, but also simulcasting on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and Instagram. Until next time, I'm Cyrus Webb, and thank you so much for being with us. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.